Testing, testing, testing. One, two, three. With the intention to attain the ultimate supreme goal that surpasses even the wish granting jewel, may I constantly cherish all living beings.
O Blessed One, Shakyamuni Buddha.
I'll hide that behind there. It's a bit surplusy. We'll see.
On the second shelf.
Yeah, I thought that, but can I
You
reach?
can't read, I don't know. I just thought, I bet someone comes in and starts tidying them out.
Yeah, they might. Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Hide that down there. I'd be like a magician. We're gonna let it. And now.
You need some more to drink, but if you want a magician drink.
I don't know what we're doing. We're going to spoon it into that bottle.
Oh, we go straight in.
Yeah, put it on my drink. That's all right. Now, whether it's
Oh gosh, that'd be funny. space.
Exactly.
What's your choice of chairs?
It might here.
Yeah, it's really handy. You can do it at home. It's super
Well,
handy.
that's what I was thinking if I can't, because
Yeah.
I've sort of wanted to come for a while and it seems to just have dogs back. And then this time I hadn't. But when I saw this, I thought this would be really handy. But I know I've just seen the September one, and it's rather not at that point I have a dog.
I mean, we have classes all the way through term time, so goes from September through to July, so it's school term time really.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the same.
Because the next week she last one's now Sunday. I can't that one. But then we start again September.
That's right.
I was sort of looking at the membership and thought, if it wasn't, if it had been online, I wouldn't know if it's cool or not.
So because your dogs don't like being left on their own.
It's the Foster for Dogs Trust. I mean, very rewarding we are from people who are being induced relationships.
They don't
morning. Bit of a wet morning. That's purification for you. So if you did get wet, you've been purified. Oh, thanks. Yeah. Okay. Can you all hear me? You all hear me in here? Okay. So, anybody here who's not been before? Oh, great. Fantastic. Love it. Yeah. So, welcome to Kadampa Meditation Centre in Liverpool. My name's Kelsang Sudana. Okay. And we're going to be doing a morning of purification. Okay. We're going to learn how about our mind, the impurities in our mind, and what's causing the disturbances in our mind, which basically make it unpeaceful. Okay. Anybody got a perfectly peaceful mind? Not yet. Not yet. We're working on it. Yeah, we're working on it, and hopefully. Come on in, yeah. We'll be able to, today, to give you some Buddhist insights from Buddha Shakyamuni. This beautiful statue behind me, Buddha Shakyamuni. Buddhist insights into advice from Buddha himself on how to reduce the disturbances in our mind, the pain in our mind, and leave it pure, free from disturbance, completely at peace, and as a result we'll be happy, perfectly happy. Yeah. So that's what we're going to work on, okay? So we're going to have we'll do the liberating prayer, which is on your chairs there. This is praise to Buddha Shakyamuni. So you're in a Buddhist centre, so this is a bit authentic Buddhism, you know. Modern Buddhism, but it's authentic nevertheless. So we do this little bit of a praise to where all this wonderful, kind advice comes from, to Buddha Shakyamuni. And then I'll lead a meditation, okay? Calm our minds down. Now, the meditation that we're going to be doing is we're going to use our imagination, okay? And we're going to imagine that both our body and our mind, essentially our mind, are totally purified. Okay? We're going to imagine this, okay? Now, you might think, yeah, but that's only in my imagination. It's still pretty impure. But it's all about belief, isn't it? And in that moment, if we believe, I'll guide you through it. If we believe we've purified our mind, because what we're going to do is expel all our negativities and replace those with positivity. Expel all our negativities and replace this with positivity, okay? I'll guide you through it. And at that point, we can decide, do we believe this or not? If we believe it, that we have purified our mind, in that moment, that's it, we're totally purified in that moment. Because mind is just moments. So in that moment, we're totally purified. How wonderful. So all you have to do is follow my instructions, my guidance, okay? And have belief in yourself, in your own ability, in your own imagination. That's all you have to do. Okay, so we'll have a go at that, shall we? After the liberating prayer. I'm just stalling a bit because I know we've got people still due to come in, so I don't want them to miss much, you know. But however, we'll make a start. Liberating prayer, yeah.
O Blessed One, Shakyamuni Buddha, precious treasury of compassion, bestower of supreme inner peace, you who love all beings without exception, are the source of happiness and goodness, and you guide us to the liberating path. Your body is a wish-fulfilling jewel. Your speech is supreme purifying nectar, and your mind is refuge for all living beings. With folded hands I turn to you, supreme unchanging friend. I request from the depths of my heart, please give me the light of your wisdom to dispel the darkness of my mind, and to heal my mental continuum. Please nourish me with your goodness, that I in turn may nourish all beings with an unceasing banquet of delight. Through your compassionate intention, your blessings and virtuous deeds, and my strong wish to rely upon you, may all suffering quickly cease, and all happiness and joy be fulfilled, and may holy Dharma flourish forevermore.
Okay, so we can all get into a comfortable position, which is essentially our 2 feet flat on the floor, our back straight, let our shoulders go, our hands in our lap. That's the Buddhist way of doing it. Right hand in the left hand, 2 thumbs lightly touching and pointing up towards our heart chakra, the center of all our energies and winds. Okay? You do what you like then. Just close your eyes gently. So we're going to start by letting go all the outside world. So we're going to begin by imagining that outer space, the whole universe, simply disappears into emptiness. Moving our awareness further into our own planet, we imagine the continents, the oceans, and all the living beings that inhabit these just dissolve away, disappear. Moving our awareness further in to the immediate locality around this building and from where we have come from. Once again, imagine it all disappears. Bringing our awareness into this room. Nothing else remains but what is within this room. And then we bring our awareness into our body. As everything remaining outside of our body disappears. And we are singularly body and mind. So now we are going to expel all our negativities, all our impurities of our mind. So we imagine that these gather together in the form of black smoke at our heart. These could include our sicknesses, our body and mind. And our negative minds of impatience, our selfish minds, our minds of pride, signs of attachment to people, to places, and to things. Just imagine they gather together in a thick black cloud at our heart, our spiritual heart, in the center of our chest. And now as we breathe out through our nose, imagine we're breathing these out, once again in the form of thick black smoke. So just spend the next few moments breathing out all your negativities, your pain of body and mind, your suffering. All our worries and concerns for ourselves and our loved ones. Just breathe these out. Imagine this thick black smoke rises above our heads, high into the sky, and gets blown away. Far into the distance, to be gone forever. Now, having expelled our negativities, we can replace this with positivity. As we imagine that as we breathe in, we're breathing in pure white, brilliant light, the essence of all positivity, which fills our mind and body. We can imagine these positive minds are minds of love for all living beings, compassion for all living beings. Minds of patience, generosity, humility. Just breathe these in the form of pure white, brilliant light that fills your mind and body. imagine our body and mind become the nature of light and are completely pure. With this love and compassion in our heart, we can share this with the rest of the world. So imagine from your heart, light rays radiate out, filling the whole room with positive energy, which spreads out across the immediate area, across continents, around the whole world. Bringing peace to all living beings. Just spend the last few moments rejoicing in this thought. All living beings are at peace. Just before we arise from meditation, we can make a little determination to ourselves to ensure that we get the most out of this morning. Something that will benefit both ourselves and others when we go home. And then we can gradually relax our concentration. Finish the meditation. And when we are ready, we can open our eyes. Could I ask you to get me some water? A glass of water, please. Thanks. Okay. So, it's so beautiful when you prepare for these teachings that we spend a fair bit of time then studying Gesler's books. So Gesler, Venerable Gesler here, our spiritual guide, okay? He spent his whole lifetime conveying Buddha's teachings to us. Buddha gave 84,000 teachings, so Gesler condensed them all into 23 books, something like that, 23 books, which we now have. And these are beautiful, like this one, Modern Buddhism. So, if I've spent, great, thanks. I've had a lovely job of going through these and coming up with some gems to share with you. And the first one is from modern Buddhism, okay? Geshe is saying, in this spiritually degenerate time, there are 5 impurities that are increasing throughout the world. 1, our environment is becoming increasingly impure because of pollution. I think we'd all agree with that, wouldn't we? Yeah. 2, our water, air, and food are becoming increasingly impure, also because of pollution. 3, our body is becoming increasingly impure because sickness and disease are now more prevalent. Gets worse, doesn't it? Now, wait for it, this is it. Our mind, guess what, is becoming increasingly impure. Why? Because our delusions are getting stronger and stronger. Haven't finished yet. There's another one, isn't there? 5. Our actions of body, speech, and mind are becoming increasingly impure because we have no control over our delusions. Okay. I think most of us would agree with that. I'm going to tell you what delusions are in a sec, but most of us would agree. You know, these are spiritually degenerate times. When spiritual is inner. That's all it is. Inner, as opposed to outer, external stuff. So, most people are out there, aren't they? Most of us. And we are. Not, you know, we mustn't judge and think, oh, you know, there's a load of out there people, and I'm aware that to be peaceful I need to go inside. But being aware and doing it are 2 different things, aren't they? You're here to learn to become aware, to recognize what's going wrong in our mind, and to deal with it, and then change and become a better person. That's our job, isn't it? To become a better person. No one wants to be a spiritually degenerate person, do they? We never really thought about it, did we, until now? But maybe we'd agree that we wouldn't want to be spiritually degenerate. You know, in times gone by, minds were so much more pure. People had so much more purer minds. And they could understand these teachings. You're going to get some pretty profound teachings today. And you might find it a bit of a struggle to understand them and put them into context. Well, we all do. And that's the point, because our minds are so impure. We're so out there. Everything we believe and stick to, you know, our belief system, our whole life system is what we have, what we believe, who we know. You know, worldly concerns are pleasures, our status, reputation, what we own, and our love of being praised. They're the 4 ones we want to keep, and then the other 4 are the fear of being criticised and losing our possessions and what was the other one? Reputation, losing reputation. All these things, these are our worldly concerns. We're out there and we weigh all these up and think, do I have this? Do I have this reputation? Do I have these necessities of life? You know, the car, the house, the boat, or whatever, the caravan. You know, and does that make me happy? You know, we're weighing it up all the time. But the only thing we need to do, really, the most important thing, we need to go inside and be happy inside. Because if we're happy inside, we can enjoy all these things I've just been mentioning. be happy inside. So we can be in the most beautiful place in the world, can't we? But if we're not happy inside, if we get angry or upset, the conditions of no consequence. It's our mind that matters. Our mind matters. Okay, so we have a very impure mind. Okay, maybe you think you haven't, but I do. I have a very impure mind. Especially as I've been doing this preparation for today's teaching. I really do been watching my mind, seeing how negative it is. Okay, so we've got this impure mind. So what is the mind? I thought I'd best tell you what the mind is, according to Buddha. The mind is by nature something that is empty like space, always lacking form, shape and colour, and whose function is to perceive or understand objects. Empty like space. And we think the mind, sometimes we're guilty of thinking the mind's the brain, don't we? Got nothing to do with the brain. The brain's a piece of meat. You know, the mind is not a piece of meat. The mind is empty like space. We can choose to accept or reject, but try not to reject. Just say, well, I don't fully accept it, but it could be right, and therefore it could be beneficial if I adopt this way of thinking or seeing my own mind. Empty like space, always lacking form, shape and colour, and whose function is to perceive or understand objects. So it's a mental continuum, and it goes from life to life. We'll come to this a bit later. Formless. Mental continuum goes from life to life. Okay? And this is us. Our mind is us. You know, we are our mind. We are what we think we are, don't we? Aren't we? Can't be anything else, can we? The mind is the creator of everything. It's, I think, on this, the publicity. You know, the mind is the creator of everything. So, you know, pretty powerful. Yeah. Okay, so it's pretty impure as well at the moment. But the good news is that it is inherently pure. It is inherently pure. Okay, I'll come back. I'll come back to this shortly. I'm going to do a little experiment, okay? To try and illustrate to you good guys exactly the nature of our mind and what's going on with its delusions, okay? So I have here a bottle of clear water. That's our mind. Clear. By nature clear. Completely pure. I have here some baking powder, okay? What does this represent? Our delusions. Okay, so if I can get it open, here we go. Put this. These are our delusions, yeah? That's our mind. That's the pure nature of our mind, there. Pure nature of our mind. Delusions. Okay? I've never done this before. I've always wanted to, then. Okay? So it's no longer pure. Not at the moment. But its essential nature is pure. Eventually, that powder, we hope, because I've not done it before, will settle. Those delusions will fall down. And we'll be left with perfectly pure mind. So that is its essential nature. So what are delusions which crowd our mind or cloud our mind? Whichever you, both are relevant. So How to Transform Your Life, another one of Geshe's books. Okay, beautiful book. They're all beautiful. But this one you can, and that one, Modern Buddhism, you can download. It's a free download. So it's free if you go to the right website, which you can find all the references around the place here. Yeah, or you can buy the book. It's much nicer to have a book, I think. Or have both. Okay. So, yeah, Geshe poses a question. So, if the mind is pure and unsullied by nature, we may wonder why it, if we all have within us our own source of peace and happiness, okay, we may wonder why it is so hard to maintain a continually peaceful and joyful mind. This is because of the delusions that so often crowd our mind. So what are they? Delusions are distorted ways of looking at ourselves, other people, and the world around us. Like a distorted mirror, they reflect a distorted world. This is it. This is what's going wrong in our mind, and this is why we see an impure world. Because we're looking through distorted lenses. It's like having a set of glasses that are distorting everything. Like a distorted mirror, they reflect a distorted world. So, one of the main delusions is anger or hatred. The deluded mind of hatred, for example, views other people as intrinsically bad. But there's no such thing as an intrinsically bad person. Or is there? I bet we know a few, don't we? Oh, we know a few. Like the neighbour, the guy you have to work with, or one of your siblings, God forbid. However, there's no such thing, and we can prove this again. Uncontrolled desire, this is another major delusion. Uncontrolled desire. Anyone have uncontrolled desire? We'll do anything sometimes to get what we want, won't we? Is that in control? Nope. It can be quite painful and upsetting. So uncontrolled desire, also known as desirous attachment, on the other hand, sees its object of desire as intrinsically good and as a true source of happiness. Okay, so anger and hatred, if you like, easy to recognize, aren't they? And easy to understand that they're disturbing our mind. Everyone happy with that? Everyone, because when we're angry, our mind's not happy. It's not peaceful. We have even minor irritations going on nearly all the time because we're not getting what we want. The life isn't treating us correctly. We're not. The computer fails to work. It does strange things. Our mobile phone or the car breaks down, or the domestic appliance doesn't work, like the washing machine. These things are going wrong all the time. And we get irritated, get angry and upset. People upset us as well, don't they? Do you ever feel the world is full of unreasonable people? They get worse, don't they? They're getting worse. There's more unreasonable people than ever before. Or is it our mind? Could be our mind. You know, there was a story of a young lady who came to my classes years ago in Crewe. And she said she would go home every night for tea with her mum from work, go home from work. And she'd say, she'd always have someone she would complain about. You know, she'd go, oh, so-and-so, they're really annoying me. You know, they really irritate me. They did this and did do the other, etc. And this would go on each week or however regularly she came up with these things until she'd practically gone through the whole of the office. You know, there was one, each and every one of them gave her problems. And she would tell her mum this thing. And eventually her mum one night said to her, said, have you ever thought, Helen, have you ever thought it could be just you? The way you look at people. And it is, it's us really. I mean, people may act in a deluded way, but we project onto them. We see what they're doing, and this is how the mind works, especially the one of anger. So we look at the appearance, we look whatever appears to our mind, someone acting unreasonably, and we then exaggerate the bad qualities, and see it as an intrinsic part of that person, their intrinsic nature. No? Yeah, maybe. We do, don't we? If we really think about how we see people, we spend all day sometimes. When anyone comes to mind, we think, do I like them, dislike them, or am I indifferent, you know? But if I dislike, we'll get to that in a sec actually, but if I dislike them, then I've got to decide. Sometimes we think, oh, it's so-and-so, so-and-so. I don't like that person, I can't remember why. We've got to rethink it. Oh yeah, because they did this or they said that. And then we add to the story, don't we? So we're building a picture, a generic image of this inherently bad person. And you know, they did it to someone else as well. In fact, they're very negative generally, and they're always criticizing people, including me. And, you know, so we build this picture, and until we reach a firm conclusion, so we can't stop until we've got to a firm conclusion. We reach that firm conclusion, and we say, that's it. That's what they are, inherently bad person. Well, not my type anyway, you know, someone I'd rather avoid, aversion, okay? So that's our anger, irritation, the way we look at people, sometimes. Well, we can look at people another way, can't we, with our attachment, our uncontrolled desire. Because we're deciding, when we see anyone, we decide whether we like, dislike, or indifferent, okay? But this is happening all the time. The moment someone walks in through the door, if we've never seen them before, we go, oh, do I like, dislike, or pass them off completely? You know, be aware. This is what's going on. But let's go through attachment. So, uncontrolled desire. They look nice. Yeah. And then, of course, they might say something nice to us. Pay us a compliment. Oh, thank you very much. I'm glad you recognize my good qualities. It's pitiful, really. And then we think this person's great, don't we? You know, they look attractive, they say nice things, they pay us compliments. Okay. And well, that's it. We think that's it. That's a good person. they go in the good pile. So we've got the bad pile and we've got the good pile, and the indifferent pile, which is everybody else, that we just dismiss. That's not very nice, is it? Dismiss. But we'll leave them aside for the time being. We'll come back to them and we'll learn to love them later. Everybody, we'll learn to love everybody. This is what we'll do in the second session. Okay? How does that sound? Sounds all right, that one, doesn't it? Yeah. Because it's getting a bit, as I say, pitiful at the moment. You know, if we're recognizing what's going on in our mind, it's pretty pitiful. So, this good person, bad person, indifference. And then what? So, you know, so we've got these piles. This is our life. You know, our life full of people I like, people I dislike, and those I have no feeling one way or another for. But it changes, doesn't it? You know, someone in the bad pile might one day, you know, we decide that they're not very nice, they might one day come up to us and say, you know what, I've been watching you. And you go, yeah, here it comes. Here it comes, some more criticism. No, I've been watching you, and you know, I respect what you do. You're very calm, aren't you? You're very calm and fairly placid, and you don't seem to get angry with people. You know, how do you do it? And you go, ooh. As someone who's, once again, recognizing my good qualities, and then you start to like them, don't you? In a moment like that. Or they might just come up with a cup of tea and say, would you like a cup of tea? Oh, I've got this extra bar of chocolate. Would you like it? Yeah, I love chocolate. So all of a sudden they're your friend, aren't they? So they've gone from being an enemy to a friend. And the same with the friends pile. So somebody out of the friends pile comes up to us one day. Oh, we hear what they might have to say about us behind our back, maybe. Yeah, a bit of criticism. We don't like criticism. We just don't like it at all. So we change our view. I thought I like this, but I don't know. That's it, in the bad pile. So, what's going on? We're confused, aren't we, really? And we talk about distorted, totally distorted. But we've got to be aware we're buying into our conclusions. We see someone, we decide whether we like, dislike, or indifferent. That's our conclusion. And then we buy into it and say, that's how it is. But it's not how it is at all. It's just in our mind. There's nothing to do with the person. It's just how we look at them. You know, so many things, more recently, as I've been preparing for this course, you know, I had you recognize your negative minds about people. And then as I'm doing this, preparing this course, my mind's changing. It's becoming more positive. And I'm reading all this advice about how I should look at people. And the world changes. My world began to change for the better, you know. Yeah. So it comes recommended. So they're the three poisons: like, dislike, and indifference. Poisons? Did anyone mention poison? Yeah, that's what well, Buddha calls them the three poisons. And I used to listen to this. I'd hear these, and they're mentioned in the prayers. Can we hope and pray that we get rid of our three poisons? I used to think, well, it's not that significant. You know, we have a bit of anger, we have a bit of attachment, we have a bit of we don't think of others so much. But it's not a big problem. It's not a big thing. But it is. It is a big thing, and it is a poison. because our mind is polluted, it's contaminated with a delusion. And so delusion's function is to make our mind unpeaceful. So it says right at the beginning, if we've got so many, if we've got by nature a pure mind, a peaceful mind, how come we don't have joy and happiness every moment of the day? Because our mind is full of delusions. 3 poisons we want to get rid of. Okay, so it's not going to take. It's going to take a while. It's not going to happen overnight. I'll just finish on delusions because I think you've had enough of those, haven't you, for now? I'll just finish. All delusions function like this, okay? Projecting onto the world their own distorted version of reality and relating to this projection as if it were true. When our mind is under the influence of delusions, we are out of touch with the reality and not seeing things as they really are. How are they? We'll get to that later. How are they? But we're definitely, I think we're pretty convinced by now that we are out of touch. Distorted version of reality. Since our mind is under the control of at least subtle forms of delusion all the time, how's that water doing? It might take a day or two. Okay. It is not surprising that our lives are so often filled with, wait for it, frustration. It's as if we are continually chasing mirages, only to be disappointed when they do not give us the satisfaction for which we had hoped. So, complete distortion, out of touch with reality. We're not doing very well, are we, really? But thankfully, Buddha said, he gave us advice now, how we can change our mind, how we look at the world, because this is basically what we're saying. All our problems is how we look at the world. Distorted view. So we need to transform our view from, but you can get this, from negative to positive, okay? So we've had these pretty distorted views of people, so we need to change this, people and things, okay? So we need to change this. And, what page was it? Page 25. Have I shown you this one? The new one? That's the third one. New 8 Steps to Happiness. Another book by Venerable Geshe. And we're going to be meditating from this book at the end in the next session. Wonderful purification meditation. Okay. So we're on this and we're on page 25. New 8 Steps to Happiness, page 25. Oh, okay. Bit of a lead in to what I was going to read. Our world is becoming increasingly dangerous and polluted, while internally our minds are becoming rougher and more uncontrolled. So not only are they impure, they're out of control, aren't they? Because if we adhere, if we become familiar with, it's almost like a habit. We form a habit of negative minds. Okay, we form a habit of negative minds. They only get worse. It's almost like that's the default. So that's why our minds are becoming rougher and out of control. I mean, if we just have to look at the world, don't we? and we drive a car and see so much road rage going on out there. Or even if we go to the supermarket with a trolley. People's minds are out of control. Our minds are out of control. We need to change, okay? All these, if we practice the instructions contained within, and it mentions the 8 verses or 8 steps to happiness that are contained in this book, which is basically the path to enlightenment. But if we, in other words, if we practice, which are the full essence of Buddha's teachings, if we practice Buddha's teachings, Buddha's advice, which is clear, common sense, practical, and scientific, not airy-fairy Buddha's advice, he really does nail it, I think, anyway. You have to decide for yourself. But thank goodness we've got this advice. So if we practice the instructions contained within, if we practice Buddha's instructions, we can transform all these adversities. Okay, adversities in the context we were about this morning are difficult people. Okay, and anything else going wrong in our life, which is just about every other moment. Okay, we can transform these instead of getting irritated, upset, or attached into the path to enlightenment and live happily in the midst of this impure world, rather than being an obstacle to our spiritual progress. Okay, don't forget, spiritual's internal. It's an inside job. Okay, it's not an outside job, it's an inside job. Rather than being an obstacle to our spiritual progress, the impurities of this present age can become fuel for our spiritual practice. And then Geshe-la puts in a sentence he doesn't often do, but it's quite telling and revealing. He says, without practicing these teachings, I think it is now very difficult to find true peace and happiness. He doesn't often be firm. That's almost, very profound, very firm statement. Well, subtly firm. He's being gentle, I think. He knows it is now very difficult to find true peace and happiness. So we call it transform adverse conditions. So there's a lovely analogy, here. Atisha's teacher. So Atisha was the founder of Kadampa Buddhism. He's a Indian Buddhist master who, you can learn more about him in Joyful Path of Good Fortune. But Atisha's teacher, Dharmarakshita, I think it's called, compared samsara, that's what we're living in, by the way, that's our mind, that's what we see with our mind, samsara. Birth, aging, sickness and death. That's the cycle of our life, isn't it? Of this life, and then next life, and next life, and next life, and next life. We'll come to this later. So samsara is what we see, what we experience in this world. And until we learn to let go of samsara, let go of grasping it, likes, dislikes, etc., then we're never going to find true peace and happiness. So there's a lot to think about. However, we can deal with them now directly. We can deal with the difficulties. So, what did he do, Dharmarakshita? Compared samsara to a forest of poisonous plants. For we are constantly surrounded by attractive and unattractive objects that stimulate the mental poisons of attachment and anger. That's what we've just been saying, yeah? He compared those who are unable to transform their adversities into the spiritual path to crows, which cannot eat poisonous plants. Practitioners of training the mind, however, that's us, are like peacocks, which are said to thrive on plants that are poisonous to other birds, for they can transform both attractive and unattractive objects. Sorry, they can. Oh, practitioners of training the mind can, not the peacocks. They can just... Have you got this? The peacock can eat poisonous plants, which are plants that are poisonous to other birds. So the practitioners of training the mind, okay, that's us, we can transform adversities into a spiritual path. Okay. Whatever circumstances arise, practitioners of training the mind can enjoy and make good use of them. So we don't have to dismiss the things that we enjoy, we're attached to, but we change our view, the way we see them. Since in these degenerate times we are constantly surrounded by objects of attachment and aversion, we definitely need to learn how to transform them into the spiritual path by training our mind. Okay? So we're going to be peacocks. Okay? Yeah? We're going to train our mind. That's what we're going to do today. How are we doing for time? 11:15. We go for coffee or tea or a cake in the cafe. You're thinking about that now, aren't you? Okay. We've got 10 minutes. Okay. So we know we need to transform our mind, don't we? So we need to look at others, and learn to love them, basically. Because if we love all living beings without exception, we'd have no problem, would we? We wouldn't. For someone you love purely, not attached, and have compassion for them, it's like a mother's love for a child. She has love and she has compassion because she doesn't want that child to suffer. So if we have these two minds, if we can develop these two minds of love and compassion for all living beings, this will not only make our life much more flowing, peaceful, gentle, loving, it will also purify our mind. Okay, so we need, Shantideva, he was an Indian Buddhist master also. And Shantideva said that all the unhappiness in this world comes from wanting ourselves to be happy. And all the happiness in this world comes from wishing others to be happy. We've really got to think about that. It's quite a powerful statement, really. But that's essentially a truth that we need to contemplate. This is why we meditate. We need to contemplate these truths and really reason them out and think, is that the case? Am I, chasing after the things that I want in life? Am I hurting others am I pushing other people aside, wanting to gain something over and above other people? And am I getting upset when I don't get what I want, like a spoiled child? And is this really happiness? Or when I think of others, good thing about thinking about others, is it's we stop thinking about ourselves, which is the troublemaker. We stop thinking of ourselves. So if we think of others, what do they need? How are they suffering? How can I make them happy? It's like the mother for a child or a father for a child. You're going out with the children for the day, and you're thinking, how can I make them happy? And so you play a game. And you immerse, you don't really want to play the game, but you think, oh, it might make them happy. So you immerse yourself in the game, then you start to enjoy it, don't you? And this is just like life. If we don't really want to listen to people's problems when they're coming to us and saying, "I've got, guess what happened to me today?" And you go, "I'm not really interested," but you don't say that. But you wait, and you try and be patient, and try and play a game really, and try and be nice. And it's you then start to think, this person who I didn't really have much. I didn't really think about too much, but all of a sudden you realise they've got problems in their life, and they are suffering. And your heart goes out to them. So what's happened? Are you more peaceful or less peaceful? It's a difficult one, isn't it? I'd say you're more peaceful. Because you're thinking of others. You're thinking of their suffering, and you're wishing that they didn't have that suffering, like a mother for a child. So that's opening up our heart, while when we're thinking of ourselves, we're closing our heart. Because the self is, this absorption of self is a very narrow mind. So what we've got to decide is that living beings, we've got to love them. Yeah, we've got to love living. So we've got to find out, how do we do this? How do we love? Love. How do you say, what type of accent have I got? I don't know. I used to get told off in Scotland. I was in Scotland for a while, and they went on about my accent. Anyway, how do we love all living beings? Well, one way is to consider how kind they are to us. And you go, oh, I know a few people aren't so kind. Not everyone's kind. But Buddha says, yeah, they've all been very, very kind to us in the past. How come? They've all been our mothers in previous lives. Every living being has been our mother in a previous life. How come? I took this to, I was at a school the other week, last Friday. 14, 15-year-olds, about 70 of them. And I said, someone asked, do you have to be vegetarian to be a Buddhist? And I said, well, not necessarily. But our spiritual guide, Geshe-la, says, when he was asked the question, can we eat meat or fish? He said, we shouldn't eat our mothers. And the kid's like, what do you mean? Can we eat our mothers? Well, you think about it. So I'd already explained to them about past lives, past and future lives. That's what we believe. How many past lives have we had? And I had explained countless. Since beginningless time, we've had previous lives. To deny the fact that we've had previous lives, you'd have, to convince other people that we've not had previous lives. It's harder to convince them that, I think, than it is to convince that we have had previous lives. Because lots of our tendencies, when children are born and they're very, very young, where did all their tendencies come from? Not necessarily the parents. We know this. They have skills and abilities that are far beyond what the parents could ever give them, certainly in the few formative years, 3 to 5. Then they can write a concerto or something. It's come from a former life, hasn't it? It's got to. So we've had, and how many former lives have we had? Countless. So one teacher said, I'm going to leave you with this to go and have a chat over coffee. So one former teacher, a senior teacher in our tradition, said, because we were talking about renunciation, that the mind that wants to get out of samsara, basically, that sees that samsara is a deceptive. Samsara is deceptive. Okay. The mind that wants to get out. And he was talking about former lives. He says, how many of you do you think we've had? He said, think of the number of atoms in the sun. Then double it. It's quite a few, isn't it? Quite a few lives. Because I remember hearing this when I first came to these classes 30 years ago. And I thought, no, we haven't had that many. You go back to prehistoric times. And that was, a few hundred, a few thousand lives at the most. But no. Okay, so we've had all these lives. So where are all the mothers? Because we've had a mother in every life, haven't we? We couldn't have been born otherwise. Where are all these mothers? Well, Buddha says they're all the living beings that are alive today. Ooh. So you've all been my mother at one time or another. So if we consider this, we'll come back to the contemplations and how it can be beneficial, but we know, or we can immediately hopefully agree that if this were true and we believed it, then we'd look on everyone differently, wouldn't we? We'd forgive them their misdemeanors. We'd not get so angry and upset with them, because they've shown us incredible kindness in the past. And people say, well, some mothers weren't so kind. Well, you go, maybe they weren't, but no one's perfect, are they? And okay, so somebody brought us into this world. Well, it was our mother, yeah. So they brought us into this world, giving us this precious opportunity, okay? Precious life. So just go away and think of this, right? So we believe that when we die, our mind goes into the bardo. It's like a bad dream. Well, the whole life is like a bad dream, really, but when you go into the bardo, your mind, your mental continuum, leaves the body of this life and goes searching for another body. But in the meantime, it can spend up to 40 days in the bardo. And it's a very frightening place to be. Like a really bad dream. So you're fearful, and you're so scared, and you're running away, and you're trying to find a refuge from people who are wanting to hack you to pieces and things like this. Really, really horrific, nightmarish appearances. And then all of a sudden you find a body to be born into, the mother of this life. And Gessler says it's a bit like when we're out in a storm late at night and we're soaked to the skin and we've got nowhere to stay because the hotel is full. And then someone takes pity on us and brings us into their warm house and gives us a towel to dry off and sits us by the fire. Just put yourself in that position and think of the person who's just done that for you. You'd see them as incredibly kind, wouldn't you? And that's what our mother did for us. She allowed us into her womb. She allowed us to stay there. This refuge from the bardo. How kind is that? So every mother has done that, at least that, if nothing else. And that in itself is enough to think, I'll do me. I can change my view, maybe. Okay. So you go and we'll finish there, and you go and have something nice to eat and drink. and we'll come back at 12. What should do?
It's beautiful. I'm not sure. I think he said he was waiting for other people to maybe in travelling and he got stuck or something. Don't know how it is. Yeah. Sometimes like Kyle, two people come over or whatever.
Yes, could be to do with the weather.
Yeah, it's not been good the weather. I can't see the driving. Okay.
Lovely, isn't it? Sweet peas, is it?
Yeah, and these grass, I've seen them growing. They're really funny, aren't they? They're just grass. But
Yeah, of course it is.
somebody must have brought them from home.
Yes, looks like it.
Well, no, I just had a call from him.
Oh, what's he saying? Okay. What are you doing? I'm reading it.
Oh, no.
Like you said. Oh, you got high glucose at 18.7.
Oh, good, 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 good.
What is it?
It's in the jacket inside.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks, Ruth. Okay. We all have a nice break. Coffee all right? Those who had the coffee. It was okay. Oat milk as well. Hey, it gets better. Yeah, no, Jasmine, she's a bit of a barista, you know, a bit of a wonderful discovery. Yeah, glad you enjoyed it anyway. Right, so, everyone comfortable, yeah? Do you want the window open at all? Or? No, okay. What we're going to do? What are we going to do? We're going to meditate. Should we meditate? That's a good idea. That's what we do in Buddhist centers. We're going to meditate. So, but we'll start with the relaxation meditation, which is the breath. Okay, so we'll concentrate on the breath. Now, this is a bit of a challenge for you now, because it's very difficult to concentrate on one thing at a time, and we're not used to it. So imagine you're downloading a new app in your head. Okay, so you've got this new app. It's called Pure Mind app. Okay, so we're all going to download this Pure Mind app. Now, Pure Mind, the essential nature of Pure Mind is no disturbance, no distractions. So you know when you get a free app and they offer you the pro version without adverts, but we can't have the pro version. We've got the adverts, but we have to ignore them. And the adverts for us are the distractions that come into our mind when we're supposed to be meditating on one single object, in this case, the breath. Are you with me on this one? Is it okay? It's okay, yeah. Okay. So ignore the adverts. However distracting they may be. Okay, so this is our job. This is our challenge. You know, you made great efforts to get here today. Spent your money and everything. Now, this is our opportunity to totally relax, let go. You know, no matter what you were saying in the break, who you met, etc., just let it all go. Bring your mind single-pointedly on the breath, just for a few minutes, then we settle, and then we'll do the liberating prayer, we'll do the meditation, this meditation, then we'll do some more advice about the meditation we're going to do at the end, and then we're going to do this beautiful purification meditation. I think it's beautiful. It's very, very powerful, and it's very advanced. But I think you guys are up to it, and I do, yeah. Okay, liberating prayer, then meditation, yeah.
O Blessed One, Shakyamuni Buddha, precious treasury of compassion, bestower of supreme inner peace, you who love all beings without exception, are the source of happiness and goodness, and you guide us to the liberating path. Your body is a wish-fulfilling jewel. Your speech is supreme purifying nectar, and your mind is refuge for all living beings. With folded hands I turn to you, supreme unchanging friend. I request from the depths of my heart, please give me the light of your wisdom to dispel the darkness of my mind and to heal my mental continuum. Please nourish me with your goodness, that I in turn may nourish all beings with an unceasing banquet of delight. Through your compassionate intention, your blessings and virtuous deeds, and my strong wish
So we can now all get into a comfortable position. Make a determination to get the most out of this meditation. So we can check our body. First of all, make sure it's relaxed, no areas of tension. And we start the challenge to keep our mind focused single-pointedly on our breath. So try, just begin by concentrating on the sensation of the breath at the tip of our nose. If we get distracted or conceptual thought arises, just let it go and bring your mind back onto your breath. Just keep trying, don't worry, just try. once again, before we finish the meditation, make a small determination to get the most out of the teaching and the advice we're given, so that we can take it home with us and it will benefit both ourselves and others. So then we can gradually relax our concentration, finish the meditation. When we are ready, we can open our eyes. So I don't know whether you were discussing whether everyone's been your mother over break. I bet you weren't. It's often the case, isn't it? We immediately go back into our routines, our regular minds. That's fine. That's great. So but this view, I used to think, I can't teach that one. People get, wrong idea, or they think you Buddhists, you're a bit weird, But the more I'm involved with these teachings, and they touch my heart more and more, this one especially. Why? Because it's we'll get to this in the quotes I've chosen from the book. It's a truth. Okay. It's a truth. It's relating to a truth. Now the rest of the time, as we said in the first session today, we're relating to an untruth. Aren't we? Our delusions. What is more beneficial? To stick with our disturbing, unpeaceful delusions, or to adopt and embrace a truth? Or even if we just say, well, it could be true, therefore, if I relate to people in this way, it's going to be good, it's going to be beneficial, it's going to work. No harm can come from thinking that someone's been our mother. Okay. Right. So, how to transform your life, page 131. Have you bought the book? Could be the best book you ever buy. Could be. Depends on you. Okay, sorry. I shouldn't be hard selling. We say all delusions, right, going back to delusions, are based on a mistaken way of seeing things. When we see things as they really are, our delusions naturally disappear, and virtuous minds naturally manifest. Minds such as love and kindness are based on reality and are an expression of our pure nature. Ooh, that's nice. Our pure nature, love and kindness. We like that, don't we? That sounds good, comfortable, very warm. Thus, when we view others as kind, we are seeing beyond their delusions and relating to their pure nature, their Buddha nature. Okay? So, we are told again and again that we all have the potential to become a Buddha. Now you might think, well, I didn't come here to become a Buddha. I just came here to purify my mind. Well, and I'm not wishing that you all become Buddhists. I do wish you all become Buddhists, but not Buddhists necessarily. I'm not trying to force that upon you. But a Buddha, to us or to anyone, anything, is a completely purified mind, and that's what we want. Whatever you call it, whatever label you put on it, it's a completely purified mind. It's peaceful and happy all the time and blesses the mind of every living being every moment of the day. That's what we're told. The Buddha can do, this omniscient mind. So we're very limited, aren't we? In our capabilities, in our ability to help people. Very limited, aren't we? You sit beside the bed of someone who's dying, and you think, what do I do? What do I say? What can I do? I just want to help. I just want to say the right thing. Very limited. So we need some help. We need to become purer, and the answers will come. Okay? So we've all got the potential to become a Buddha. We've all got this Buddha seed, this, I've mentioned, this pure, natural. Our nature is purity. Our nature is it's just obscured by delusions, by like the sky being obscured by clouds. Our mind is like the sky. The vast, clear blue sky, that's like our mind. But it's like obscured by clouds, which are the delusions. Once we move those clouds, because they can move. Once they're moved, we're left with the sky and our pure essential nature. And we become, we are a pure being. Completely pure being. So Buddha compared our Buddha nature to a gold nugget in dirt. So this is basically how we can look at others. That they all have this potential to become a Buddha. Yeah. To a gold nugget in dirt. For no matter how disgusting a person's delusions may be, the real nature of their mind remains undefiled, like pure gold. In the heart of even the cruelest and most degenerate person exists the potential for limitless love, compassion, and wisdom. Unlike the seeds of our delusions, unlike the seeds of our delusions which can be destroyed, this potential is utterly indestructible and is the pure, essential nature of every living being. Whenever we meet other people, rather than focusing on their delusions, we should focus on the gold nature of their Buddha nature. On the gold of their Buddha nature. This will not only enable us to regard them as special and unique, but also help to bring out their good qualities. It goes on, it's so beautiful. So, this is how we can relate to other living beings, and so they have been our mother. And Buddhists realize that there is not a single living being who has not been our mother in the past, and each of these mothers has shown us infinite kindness. Because we cannot recall our previous lives, and because the aspect of our mothers changes from life to life, we do not recognize them or remember their kindness. But this does not alter the fact that all living beings are, in essence, our kind mothers. Okay, so this is the benefit now. If we regard all living beings in this way, it will be easy to develop pure love and compassion for them. This will prevent us from getting angry or jealous. Well, it would, wouldn't it? if they're our mother, have been our mother, then we're not going to get angry or jealous. And we'll encourage us to help them as much as we can. Since this recognition is based on the wisdom of all the Buddhas and leads us in the direction of enlightenment, we should adopt it without hesitation. So once again, it's our choice, isn't it? You know, we're told this again and again, we have choice. Nothing is forced upon us. We don't have to believe anything in particular. But when we get presented with a truth such as we believe is truth, but when we get presented with a concept, should we say, when we get presented with a concept such as this, and we think, is it beneficial? Could it be beneficial if I used it in my life? Well, the answer is yes, it's got to be, hasn't it? So this is how we can view all living beings as our mother and develop love and compassion for them. Okay, so what we're going to be doing, we're going to be working towards a meditation on, we call it taking and giving, okay? We're going to be imagining that all these mothers out there, in fact, you could say everybody in this room and beyond, or a close karmic circle and beyond, they have all been my mother at one time or another, yeah, and they're all suffering. Okay, we'll look at the suffering in a moment, but we imagine they're all suffering. And what we're going to do is imagine that as we breathe in, we take in all their suffering into our heart, our spiritual heart. But you know what that does? It destroys what we call our self-cherishing nature. It's got to, hasn't it? It's got to destroy our view of self, this childish little creature inside us that wants everything for itself. That gets destroyed by the very fact that we've got this pure, compassionate mind, deeply wishing to relieve all living beings from their suffering, and taking that suffering into ourselves. We literally imagine we're taking it into our spiritual heart. It destroys our self-cherishing nature, purifying our mind. It transforms our mind. And as we breathe out, we're giving, we imagine we're giving all living beings whatever they need to alleviate their suffering, whatever they need. Okay. There are four main benefits of the meditations on taking and giving. They are powerful methods. One, to purify the potentialities of non-virtuous actions that cause us to experience serious diseases such as cancer. Okay, so I need to explain a bit about karma here. Karma, cause and effect. Everything that appears to us in this life, everything we experience comes from our previous actions. You can't have a result or experience without a cause. And it's no doubt come from previous lives, a long time ago. Okay, so whenever we experience difficulties in our life due to our non-virtuous actions of previous lives, then we need to recognize and appreciate that this is coming from our actions of previous lives, okay? And we need to have the strong wish to purify those karmic imprints, those negative karmic imprints. And we can do this with this meditation. it purifies the potentialities of non-virtuous actions that cause us to experience serious diseases such as cancer. Why does it mention that? Well, there's a lovely story in 8 Steps to Happiness, and it's of a monk who realized that he was dying. He had only days to live. And so, but he was a pretty pure practitioner. And he decided, right, I'm going to give everything away. So he gave everything away to the monastery and the temple and and people around. And he went to the graveyard. He thought, that's a good place to go. That's where I'm going to end up. And he did this meditation on taking and giving. You know, he had the choice, didn't he? He could be concerned for himself alone, worrying that he was going to die and develop fear and regrets and all these awful minds. Or he could just think about others by doing this meditation. And by virtue of the meditation, the fact he was imagining he was taking on the suffering of all living beings who were suffering in much the same way that he was at that moment. So it really brought it home to him, and he said, I don't want people to suffer in this way. How awful it must be. So by doing this, it purified his potentialities to die in those next few days. It purified them completely, and he recovered. Completely. He had to go back and ask for his stuff back. Go back to the village. Secondly, okay, that was just number 1 of 4. What else does this meditation do? It accumulates a vast amount of merit. So merit is the cause of our pleasant experiences in the future, things that are nice, that we like. The non-virtuous actions cause negative results, and virtuous actions cause positive results. And if we sow the seeds, if we collect lots of merit by being kind to others, or by meditating on the wish to relieve others of their suffering, then we collect a huge amount of merit, and once again it purifies our mind. But we'll get to that in a sec. So second one is merit, great collection of merit. 3, it ripens our potentiality to be able to benefit all living beings. There you go. That's what we want, don't we? The ability to benefit all living beings. Like I was saying earlier, we're pretty helpless most of the time. Great. And finally, it purifies our mind. And it's a great purifier, this one. It's working with our compassion, our love and compassion for other living beings. And it's destroying our self-cherishing. So what are we going to end up with? A mind that has got far less self-cherishing, a mind that is much more strongly connected to other living beings and would wish for their happiness and freedom from suffering. A mind that's much more peaceful and less bothered with things in the world. Yeah, beautiful mind. So I'll give you the meditation on, I'll give you the contemplation, on how we develop compassion, thinking about their suffering, okay? But what I wanted to do was this is once again, it's about our belief. It's all coming from this book, and I should be reading from the book. Will you forgive me if I read from a page instead? Because I've just I've copied it from, pasted it. Okay. So, yeah, coming from 8 steps to happiness, so the meditation on taking and giving is in here. And Geshe kindly looks at what might well be our objections to this. We may think our belief that living beings have attained permanent liberation from suffering through our meditation is incorrect, because living beings have not actually attained this. Look, I've just got up from meditation. Look, everyone's still suffering. Aha. Although it is true that living beings have not actually attained permanent liberation, our belief is still correct, because it arises from our compassion and wisdom. Meditating on this belief will cause our potentiality of being able to liberate all living beings permanently from suffering to ripen quickly, so that we will attain enlightenment quickly. Therefore, we should never abandon such a beneficial belief, which is the nature of wisdom. Once again, it's a beneficial belief. We should never abandon. It's working for us. It's destroying our self-cherishing for a start. That's pretty good. And you say, well, living beings are still suffering. But wait. Be patient. This is, once again, the beauty of the mind, the nature of the mind, the power of the mind, and what's going on in our minds, and what the capability of our mind. So listen to this. If we imagine something that could, in theory, exist, like all living beings could, in theory, be relieved of their suffering, and then familiarize our mind with it for long enough, eventually it will appear directly to our mind. First, to our mental awareness, and then even to our sense awarenesses. I'll continue. For as long as the object is still an imagined object, the mind that apprehends it is simply a belief. If the object is a beneficial one, it is a correct belief. And if the object stimulates delusions, it is an incorrect belief. A belief is a conceptual mind that apprehends its object by means of a generic or mental image of that object. Okay? So we're thinking of the outcome, the wish that all living beings are free from suffering. We form a generic image in our mind of this result. Okay? If we meditate on a correct belief for long enough, the generic image will become progressively more transparent until eventually it disappears entirely and we perceive the object directly. The imagined object will then have become a real object. By meditating on the beneficial belief that we have liberated all sentient beings and destroyed our self-cherishing mind, eventually we will actually accomplish this. Our correct belief will have transformed into a valid cognizer, a completely reliable mind. So this is a bit like what we call in tantric practice, bringing the result into the path. So in Tantra, we imagine we self-generate as a deity, a pure being. Okay? We totally absorb ourselves into thinking and trying desperately to believe that we've become a deity, a pure being. And by familiarizing our mind with that generic image, this new image that we've generated, long enough, we eventually do become that being. It's just like in a dream. When we go to sleep and we start to dream, and then appearances arise, and we think, well, while we're in the dream, that everything's real. And so, what I'm trying to say is that literally we're going from one dream to another. This dream that we're in at the moment of grasping and deception, it's deceptive, it's unreal, literally it's a projection. And the dream we're in at the moment is a projection of all our delusions. Isn't it? How, there's invalid minds. We've just said this in the first session. Everything we think about, we say, oh, I like this person, dislike that person, totally unreliable, invalid. But if we start to meditate on compassion and love, and we imagine that all living beings have been relieved of their suffering, eventually, it's like this beliefs that we're building inside us overcomes all this is the reality, it's our true nature, and it's the nature of the living beings. It overtakes this unreality of our negative, contaminated, deluded, impure mind. Right? And so there's a bit more. There's a lot more, but I haven't got time. Okay, so says here, taking motivated by compassion, it's taking the suffering of living beings into us, motivated by compassion, is an extremely pure mind, unstained by self-cherishing. When our mind is pure, this in turn makes all our actions pure, so that we become a pure being. Not bad. Right. So, I think we need to, on giving, yeah. So we'll look at meditating on taking, first of all. So we've got to imagine the suffering, yeah, of all living beings in all the different realms. Okay, so here we go, a bit more Buddhist belief. Okay, when we die from this life, when we leave this life, there's chances are that we'll be born into a lower realm or a higher realm, but because of our delusions, we'll probably end up in a lower realm. So these, we've got animal realm, we've got the hell realms, we've got hungry ghost realms, pretty awful sounding names, awful places to be, full of suffering. Bit like this life, but a lot worse. Or we could be reborn in a God realm. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that's a good thing. Why? Because, let me tell you, gods, even though they've created a lot of virtue, a lot of merit in previous lives, and they experience what appears to their mind is beautiful experiences they enjoy. They enjoy totally. Eventually they will die. A god will eventually die, and we're told that they live for eons, but it takes them about a pretty long time, an eon, to die. But they know they're dying, and they know they're going to end up in a suffering existence, and then it causes great anguish and pain. So we don't even want to be a god, really. So these realms, if you like, are just appearances to mind. Nothing else. They're not real. Like this world we're living in now, it's not real. Just appearance to mind. It's like a dream. But they are the result of whatever actions we've performed in the past. Okay? So, right. Enough of that. So all these mother living beings, all these living beings alive today, we've got to try and get our head around the fact they're going to suffer, and they're probably going to end up in one of these realms if I don't hurry up and become a Buddha, so I can help them and guide them out of samsara. This is where they're going to end up. You know, this is our parents, our children, our loved ones of this life. That's what's going to happen to them. Okay, and so we need to start to develop this feeling of compassion, deep compassion, wish for this not to happen. Okay. So human beings experience the sufferings of birth, sickness, aging and death, of poverty, hunger and thirst, of meeting adverse conditions and not fulfilling their wishes, and of being separated from their loved ones, as well as countless other sorrows. So that's pretty bad. That's us. Animals experience the same sufferings, only far worse. In addition, they suffer from great ignorance, exploitation by humans, and living in constant fear of being killed by other animals. Hungry spirits experience the sufferings of intense hunger and thirst, and hell beings experience unimaginable sufferings of heat and cold. Demigods experience the sufferings of jealousy and conflict for long periods of time. Even the gods, who spend most of their lives enjoying the pleasures of samsara, are not free from suffering. Their enjoyments, environments and bodies are contaminated and in the nature of suffering, and they experience great anguish at the time of death, because they too are under the control of their delusions. They have no freedom from samsaric rebirth and have to experience samsara's sufferings endlessly, life after life. So this is us, but it's other people as well. But we can get these people out, through this meditation. So let's just look at giving. Okay, so we contemplate the suffering, then we take on. We give, what do we give? To accomplish the welfare of all living beings, I will transform my body into an enlightened, wish-fulfilling jewel. Okay, so this is giving our own happiness to others through meditation. We can imagine that the rays of light we emanate as we breathe out fulfill the individual needs and wishes of each and every living being. Human beings receive close friends, comfortable houses, good jobs, delicious food, beautiful clothes, and anything else they need or desire. Animals receive food, secure and warm homes, and freedom from fear. Hungry spirits receive food and drink. Beings in the hot hells receive cooling breezes, and beings in the cold hells receive warm sunshine. The demigods receive peace and satisfaction, and the gods receive uncontaminated happiness and a meaningful life. Through enjoying these objects of desire, all living beings are completely satisfied and experience the uncontaminated bliss of enlightenment. Okay. So do you get the idea where we're going on this one? So we need to get our head right. So whatever, any aspect of this that touches our heart, about the animals, for instance, just stay with that. You don't have to think of the whole 5, 6 realms. 5 realms, is it? Of of where we might end up, or where our loved ones may end up, or where all other living beings will end up. We don't have to think of the whole picture. We can do whatever touches our heart. Okay, so then we mount it on the breath. We do. Let's just tell you what we do. We begin by meditating on compassion and love for all living beings and developing a strong determination to take on their suffering and give them pure happiness. With this determination, we imagine that we inhale through our nostrils the suffering, delusions, and non-virtues of all living beings in the form of black smoke. It's familiar. We did the black smoke earlier, didn't we? But that was our suffering. But we're taking on the suffering of others, which dissolves into our heart and completely destroys our self-cherishing. As we exhale, we imagine that our breath, in the aspect of wisdom light, its nature, pure, uncontaminated happiness, pervades the entire universe. Each and every living being receives whatever they need and desire, and in particular, the supreme happiness of permanent inner peace. We practice this cycle of breathing day and night, with each breath taking on the suffering of all living beings and giving them pure happiness, until we gain a deep experience of this practice. Okay, so yeah, we can do this at any time. We don't have to be sitting meditating to do this practice. That's what I like about it so much. You can be driving along, as long as you've got your eyes open, and you can be thinking as you breathe in about all living beings and that how they're suffering, and you imagine you're taking on their suffering. You know, it's rather than being at the traffic lights and thinking, looking at the shops, looking at the people, trying to, because we do, don't we? We look at people and we develop our own ideas, impressions of those people, which was, as I said earlier, the delusions. So rather than being in this deluded world that we create for ourselves, we can just put our mind onto this taking and giving, be doing it as we sit anywhere in the waiting room or as we shop. Just imagine we're breathing in the suffering of all living beings. And then we hold it there. We take in our breath and we hold our breath for a few seconds, or as long as comfortable, imagining it's destroying our self-cherishing. And then we breathe out, giving all living beings whatever they require. This is, imagine taking and giving upon the breath is very powerful, because there is a close relationship between the breath and the mind. The breath is related to the inner energy winds that flow through the channels of our body and which act as the vehicles or mounts for different types of awareness. By harnessing our breath for virtuous purposes, we purify our inner winds. And when pure winds are flowing through our channels, pure minds arise naturally. I'll give you this last bit and then we'll do the meditation. Combining breathing meditation with the practice of taking and giving has the power to transform our mind from its present miserable and self-centered state into the blissful and altruistic mind of a bodhisattva. And now a bodhisattva is a being or a person who devotes his life to becoming a Buddha, because becoming a Buddha so that he can relieve the suffering of all living beings, because he appreciates and realizes it's the only way he's ever going to solve anyone's suffering is to become a Buddha. Therefore, this bodhicitta motivation is a supreme motivation. That he wants to become enlightened not for himself but for others. Okay, so that's a very. So we will become just like this. So if we do this meditation correctly, like it or not, we will purify our mind. And what appears to our mind will change. So it's pure mind, pure world. 100%. We've got to believe this. What's appearing to our mind at the moment is down to our delusions. Our negative view, our negative spin on things. All we need is a positive spin. We need to familiarize our mind with looking at others, looking at our problems, and just putting a positive spin on them. And that purifies our mind. And so pleasant appearances arise, and we'll develop a mind that longingly wishes to help living beings, wishes to help people, and people will arise in our life who need our help, and we'll be able to help them and make us feel good. And it just gives us a meaningful life. This is pure mind, pure world. And we then need to, through our example, share this with others. Or others, by our example, will take what we're doing and they'll notice how peaceful we are, how chilled, and how kind and considerate we are. So the effect will not just be with us, it'll be with others as well. And this is the way we'll change the world. By our virtue of our example, we're told again and again by Genla Dekion, our international spiritual director. She's a beautiful nun, and she just says, people notice what we do. People notice. You look at your own tendencies to copy others. So if we're setting a good example, people will notice and copy us. Pure mind, pure world. Okay, so should we do the meditation on taking and giving, mounting, taking and giving on the breath? So yeah, if we get into a nice comfortable position, just bring your mind onto your breath for a few moments. So we contemplate these words. All living beings wish to be happy all the time, but they do not know how to do this. They never experience real happiness, because out of ignorance they destroy their own happiness by developing delusions such as anger and performing non-virtuous actions. How wonderful it would be if all these living beings experienced the pure and everlasting happiness of enlightenment. May they experience this happiness. I will now give my own future happiness of enlightenment to each and every living being. So that's our final object of meditation. But spend a good 5 minutes, if you like, contemplating, firstly, the suffering of living beings, and secondly, how all living beings will suffer, are suffering and will suffer, and secondly, how we would love to relieve them from this suffering. So spend a few minutes doing that, and then having generated these real feelings of compassion and the wish to relieve them of the suffering, then we can go into mounting, taking and giving on the breath. But first of all, develop compassion for the suffering of all living beings by contemplating their suffering. Humans, animals, hungry ghosts, God, demigods, gods, hell beings. just remain with human beings alone. Not fulfilling their wishes. Finding no satisfaction. Totally confused about the causes of true everlasting happiness. Suffering mentally and physically. Really try and get a feeling for their suffering. Let it touch your heart. And then develop this strong wish to relieve them of this suffering. I myself can do this. Through the power of my mind. So now, as we breathe in, we imagine we're breathing in all the suffering of all living beings. We imagine this enters as black smoke and destroys our self-cherishing mind at our spiritual heart. And as we breathe out, we imagine we're giving all these beings whatever they need or require. Essentially, pure, everlasting happiness and peace. So spend the next few minutes breathing in their suffering, holding our breath for a few moments to destroy our self-cherishing, and breathing out beautiful light rays, blessing the minds of living beings, of all living beings. If we have ourselves a particular problem of mind or body that's causing us pain, we can imagine all the living beings in this world today suffering in the same way and develop compassion for them, not wanting them to have to suffer like we do. So we can breathe in their suffering, take away their pain, imagine that we're taking away their pain. It destroys our self-cherishing. And as we breathe out, we're giving them relief and peace of mind. Just for the final couple of minutes. just before we finish the meditation, we can dedicate all the virtuous energy that we have collected here today. We can dedicate, first of all, to whoever we feel would most benefit. Anyone in our close karmic circle who is suffering, either mentally or physically. And secondly, we can dedicate universally to all living beings. May their suffering cease and their happiness be everlasting. And then we can gradually relax our concentration, finish the meditation, and when we are ready, we can open our eyes. What do you think about the water? It's not very clear. I think it's a bit clearer. It's getting there, yeah. Is it? Okay. Good. That's our mind, our potential. Okay, so thank you so much for coming. We've got, before I tell you about what we've got back in September, we have coming up a barbecue in the garden next week on Sunday, the 21st. Is that next week? Next week tomorrow? Yeah. 12 o'clock to 3:30. So it's all on here. I think there's some leaflets outside as well, so you can photograph them because I've not had a chance to get them printed. But that's a lovely opportunity to come and maybe see the place a bit. You've seen the place, haven't you, really? Experience. We're going to have an open day in September as well. But that's a community event you're all fully welcome to. And in the morning, before that, between 10 and 11, we're doing Prayers for World Peace, a special end-of-term event, Prayers for World Peace. Okay, more of information's on their website. And then, have you got on your seats there a leaflet about, what's that, Chris? Just remind me. Relax and revive through meditation. Okay? Says does what it says on the tin. Relax and through meditation. So that's about the 7th of September, yeah. First thing back after summer holidays. So enjoy your holidays and hope to see you back. We're continuing right through to virtually the end of July. We've got morning meditations, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and on Sundays, tomorrow, between 10 and 11, we'll be doing Advice for a Happy Life for an hour. More of the same of what you've been getting today. So plenty of opportunity. Thank you.